अस्सलाम वालेकुम डियर स्टूडेंट्स। मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि आप लोग खैरियत से होंगे। आज का जो हमारा वीडियो लेक्चर है वो है इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स के ऊपर। जो क्लाइंट के इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स होते हैं उसको हमने कैसे एवेलुएट करना है। सही है, तो मैं आपको साथ एक स्क्रीन शेयर कर देता हूँ ताकि हम इसको फॉर्मली जो है कंटिन्यू कर सकें। इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स हमारे पास क्या होते हैं जनाब। इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स के अंदर हम सबसे पहले ये देखेंगे कि इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स के जो ऑब्जेक्टिव्स होते हैं वो क्या होते हैं। द ऑब्जेक्टिव्स इन evaluating and testing internal controls are determining the degree of reliance on the internal controls for the purpose of his audit. ऑडिटर किस हद तक क्लाइंट के जो इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स है उनके ऊपर जो है रिलायंस प्लेस कर सकता है ताकि उसका जो टाइम बजट है ऑडिट के ऊपर उसको रिड्यूस किया जा सके। Determining the nature, timing and extent of substantial procedures. Nature ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स की क्या होगी, टाइमिंग क्या होगी, हमने कब ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स को अप्लाई करना है, एक्सटेंड किस हद तक हमने ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स को अप्लाई करना है, और सब्सटेंशियल प्रोसीजर्स का मतलब होता है एडिशनल टेस्टिंग। Internal controls are therefore the mechanism, the rules and the procedures that are implemented by the company to ensure the integrity of financial statements, financial and accounting information, to promote accountability and prevent fraud. Integrity का मतलब होता है कि आपके financial statement जो है that give true and accurate financial information about the affairs of the company. अब examples internal controls की क्या हो सकती हैं। चेक को signatures, कंपनी के जितने भी चेक्स होंगे that should be signed by at least 2 persons. It has been observed that one signatory is from the technical side and one signatory is always from the finance side. और इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स क्या हो सकते हैं, कंपनी की जो होती हैं प्रोक्योरमेंट पॉलिसीज हो सकती हैं, कंपनी की आईटी की पॉलिसीज हो सकती हैं, कंपनी की एचआर की पॉलिसीज हो सकती हैं, कंपनी की रीइंबर्समेंट पॉलिसीज हो सकती हैं वेयर एक्सपेंडिचर्स इज disbursed sometime by the employee from his own pocket and then later it is reimbursed to that employee by the organization. That is what reimbursement policies. So objectives of internal controls जो होते हैं उसमें हमारे पास दो किस्म के objectives आ जाते हैं। एक हमारे पास आ जाते हैं primary objectives of internal controls and then हमारे पास आ जाते हैं secondary objectives of internal controls. So first we discuss the primary objectives of internal controls to ensure that assets are safeguarded from misuse. Now what are the assets are safeguarded from misuse, meaning thereby to protect the assets, to protect the company's assets from theft, from accidental loss and from fraud. कैसे theft और fraud से कैसे बचा जा सकता है। We all know कि कंपनी के premises में अगर कोई चीज आएगी तो उसको कैसे आपने रिकॉर्ड करना है, अगर कंपनी के premises से कोई चीज आउट होगी तो उसको आपने कैसे अकाउंट फॉर करना है। अगर कोई चीज कंपनी के premises से आउट हो रही है तो डेफिनेटली उसके साथ जो होगा या तो आपका गुड इशू नोट होगा या आपका स्टॉक आउट का कोई इसमें आपके पास लेटर होगा कि ये स्टॉक जो है कंपनी के प्रेमिसेस से बाहर चले जाएं। इस किसी भी इंटरनल कंट्रोल को चेक के बगैर कोई भी चीज आपकी जो कंपनी के प्रेमिसेस हैं उसका जो एग्जिट गेट है उससे बाहर नहीं जा सकती। फाइनेंशियल रिकॉर्ड्स आर रिलायबल। इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स प्रोवाइड एन एनवायरनमेंट, internal controls provide an environment where in which the managers and the staff can maximize the efficiency and effectiveness of their operations. So financial records are reliable. Can anyone now answer that? Who prepares the financial information? Who is responsible for the accuracy in financial information? Is it the auditor or the accountant? It is the accountant who prepares the financial statements. So an accountant is the part of management. So management is responsible for preparing the financial statements and their accuracy. Later on, auditor checks that financial statements and the related disclosures thereon. Third is business is conducted in an orderly manner. It means business is run by the management through its internal control procedures. Now, what is the internal control procedures for the company to run the business? These are accounting policies, accounting procedures, SOPs, standard operating procedures to run the business, the DOPs, delegation of powers, meaning thereby every authorized officer exercises his own powers. वो किसी और की powers को use नहीं कर सकता, अगर वो ऐसा करेगा तो वो misuse of powers में आएगा. Secondary objectives of internal controls are to ensure that all transactions are properly authorized. So transactions are authorized, properly authorized. What does it mean? It means it has proper authorization, which helps to ensure adherence with the established guidelines of the company. अगर आपके डेलीगेशन पावर्स को जैसे हमने डिस्कस किया उसके अंदर एक चीज मेंशन है दैट डायरेक्टर्स कैन financially concur the expenditure of ₹200,000 only for any single penny arising above from the 200,000. It shall be financially concurred by the next level. Say if it is chief finance officer. So if the powers of chief finance officer are exercised by the director finance or director expenditure, so this is what this is. The transactions are not properly authorized. All transactions are properly recorded as to amount, account and period etc. आपकी transactions के अंदर जो है ना accuracy होनी चाहिए in regard to amount आपकी सही होनी चाहिए, आपका period for the period covered या for the period under review आपकी transaction relevant period से होनी चाहिए, and any movement in assets is properly authorized. अगर आपके पास जो fixed assets हैं उनके अंदर कोई मूवमेंट होती है, उनके अंदर कोई डिलीशन होती है या उनके अंदर एडिशन होती है तो उसको प्रॉपर्ली अकाउंट फॉर होना चाहिए. Assets are physically verified and are compared with the book balance at reasonable intervals. जो मैनेजमेंट होती है, जो अकाउंटेंट्स होते हैं, जो इंटरनल मैनेजमेंट होती है, उनका काम होता है कि तमाम एसेट्स को प्रॉपर्ली जो है उसको लुक आफ्टर किया जाए. ये देखा जाए कि हमारी बुक्स में आज उनकी क्या वैल्यू है after after accounting for the depreciation factor या amortization factor हमारे assets कहाँ पे stand कर रहे हैं, उनको physically आपको देखना चाहिए कि उनकी हालत जो है assets की वो अच्छी है, वो usable है, still they are better for the company's production processes, they are still better or not. The very important element of internal controls and after that the inherent limitations of the audit. When auditor evaluates internal controls, there may be still something that are escaped from the auditor, but it does not mean that he has done his work with the negligence. No, inherent limitations are such features of the audit that constrains the auditor to obtain the reasonable assurance. Again, we are talking about the reasonable assurance. We are not talking about the absolute assurance that cannot be given by the auditor. In any case, it is because of these inherent limitations of the auditor or audit that the auditor cannot assure the users of financial statements that financial statements are absolutely free of material misstatements. Now, what are these inherent limitations which restricts the auditor to give absolute assurance? That is what the potential of human error. Now, what is the potential of human error? It may be the carelessness, it may be mistake of judgment. Now we have already we have already discussed that what is a matter of what is judgment, mistake of judgment. What is material is a matter of professional judgment. Now if there is a mistake of judgment, it means it is kind of inherent limitation. It doesn't mean that auditor has carried out his work with negligence. See, the possibility of fraud through collusion, when two or more people in the organization decide that they have to do this some illegal things like fraud, it is very, then it becomes very difficult for the auditor to capture, to prevent that fraud. It is what it was a secret understanding among the employees. It is the secret understanding between the employees of the organization, uh, which is known as fraud. The possibility that a person responsible for exercising control could misuse that responsibility. So if I am director of finance or any one of you is director of finance, now there is an element of investment. You can call different bankers, and you can award any investment amount to those bankers who give you some better percentage. And it has been observed in many cases that the bankers, to get that investment for the banks, they offer under the table commission. I'm telling you, I have seen this practice much more in the market. Many times in the market, the bankers offers under the table commission to the director of finance of any organization, either it is from the public sector or the private sector. Yes, these are the things. So any person who is any person among from the management of the organization who are doing this, uh, they are actually responsible for misusing of the powers. So when it has been done, auditor is not able to see, he cannot see the under the table commission that is offered by the bank to that particular director of finance or the chief finance officer of any organization. So it is the kind of fraud that is on part of the management, and it cannot be detected sometimes by the auditor. So the fact that controls tend to be directed at anticipated types of transactions and not at unusual transactions. See, the internal controls are designed for the routine transactions. For example, revenue, how what is the procedure to account for the revenues? Either it is revenue expenditure, capital receipts, or either it is revenue receipt. What are the internal control procedures for the revenue expenditure recognition? Either it is revenue expenditure, or either it is a capital expenditure. There how to account for the other incomes that you see from the investment in different resources, different banks. आपने उसको कैसे account for करना है? So, but there may be any kind of transaction that is unusual, that is always unusual for the organization, for which there is no internal controls. So the fact that controls tend to be directed at anticipated types of transactions and not an unusual transaction. And now, what would be the unusual kind of transaction? It means we have return of some bad debts, say in financial year 2018, when and bad debts are written off when there is no chance to be recovered. And instantly in say financial year 2020, you get that bad debt amount recovered in 2020. So if it is upon now management or upon the accountants of the client, what have to do now? If they do treat it in the financial statements income as other income, as a bad debt recovered income, fine. it, 2018, 2019 audits are already carried out by the auditor, and audit report has been issued. So if this amount of revenue which is bad debts recovered is not reported by the organization or by that particular accountants, the particular management, auditor is unable to do things like this. So this is inherent limitations of the audit. And if it leads the users of financial statements or mislead the users of financial statement, it does not mean that it is the negligence on the part of the auditor. It is due to the inherent limitations of the audit. So potential for human error, possibility of fraud through collusion, and possibility of exercising or misusing the powers, and anticipated reliance. These are the main inherent limitations of the audit, which on the basis of which no one, even not a single auditor, can give you absolute assurance. Only reasonable assurance can be given on the financial statements for its users. थैंक यू वेरी मच. आई गेस आपको इनहेरेंट लिमिटेशंस का कॉन्सेप्ट, इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स का कॉन्सेप्ट जो है वो समझ आ गया होगा. नाउ आई एम ऑलवेज देयर टू आंसर योर क्यूरीज इन द क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन. थैंक यू वेरी मच. अपना ख्याल रखिएगा. अल्लाह हाफिज. शुक्रिया.